is Michelle Henrietta Micetich. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about mining accidents and the danger of mining. In the earliest days of mining, when it was underground, of course, just the thought of going 100 feet underground and blasting tunnels and being under this whole layer of earth to do your work is kind of mind-boggling. When they opened a mine, the first people who were involved were the blasters and the engineers. And a blaster was an expert at using the dynamite to blast down and make the tunnel, make the basic room at the bottom of the shaft or the cage, the elevator, and make a working area where the mules could stay, as well as the weigh checker and the cager and people, the superintendent, people who needed to do their business there. And in that particular area, they would often make it 6, 7, 8 feet high so you could walk around. But then began this radiation of tunnels being blasted throughout. And you have to keep in mind that nature is not flat like a floor in a building. The coal seam runs up and down with the topography of the land. So they blast that first area where all these men are going to do the business lower than the coal seam, underneath the 3-foot coal seam. And that's all blasted out, and all that gob is brought up, and that's what makes the hill that you see. There are 60 such hills like that, or there were at one time in the Grundy County area. At any rate, all that gob comes forward, and then they begin blasting tunnels. And here's how it works, just like the cartoon. They do the auger with the hole, and that bores a hole. And then they have a long tamper, and in goes the dynamite with the long string. And then the miner comes back and he lights. And when he lights, he has to wait, right? And they're not always very patient with waiting, and did I do it wrong? And for whatever reasons, they want to check that fuse. And then there'll be an explosion. Happened way too frequently. The other thing that would happen in addition to explosion disasters was that there is a gas, a black damp, that the air is not pure down there. All of that coal makes, well, that's why men get black lung disease, which is the ultimate danger of working down there. But they would use canaries in the mine, supposedly, and they would send them out to see if the air was fresh enough to do the work, because there wasn't good circulating air down there. So there were many times an explosion from the black damp, even after the tunnel had been dug. That is why one man's role was brusher, and all he did was go along and brush off to keep those things, the air as fresh as it could be. The third thing that happened was that rocks would fall. Everything above had the chance of boulders, shale boulders, all kinds of rock system falling down. So the men would prop every so often. You'll see it in pictures that you have to prop up the land so that you're walking through the tunnel or crawling through the tunnel in safe ways. The men would want to go in a hurry, and therefore they wouldn't always put a prop, or they'd tamp up, and the next thing you know, the boulder fell on them and they were squished. It was the most expensive proposition to keep miners alive, and the mules were more important than the miners to the companies. The statistics for mine fatalities and mine injuries are the highest in the state of any occupation.